What's going on YouTube? This is Nathan from the Fitting Bay. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a steering wheel control harness, or SWC harness if you've ever looked that up. Basically, if you've bought yourself a steering wheel control harness and module, this is what it will look like. So this is for a Toyota. It actually works on a lot of Toyotas. You need, so as we can see in here, we'll open this up and dissect it soon, but we've got our Toyota plugs, we've got a module here, we have a patch harness. Now, you see this says step 1. You can buy step 2 for the corresponding unit, depending on what the unit is, and make it all plug and play. But what a lot of people do is just buy the module in the car side with the patch lead, which is what you need. It might come with this, maybe, and also the harness from your head unit, which I've just pulled out of the box. So when we open this up, we're greeted with a bunch of plugs and wires, and it might be a little bit confusing, but it's not really that difficult. We have our little connects to module here. So we can see there's a very small plug that plugs into the module. It'll only fit on one side. So we'll plug that in on one side. That little patch harness will plug into the other side. Then we've got this random plug, but what we'll find is that on the car, these plugs all make sense because we've got this, they will all have corresponding plugs. So we have, if you look up a universal wiring diagram, you'll know that these are rear speakers. We've got power, I can see power, illumination, which I usually chop off because we don't use it anymore. A lot of units have automatic, or you can set on the unit. Antenna, power antenna wire, ground, front speakers, constant, and accessories. Now there's another little plug here. So if you follow the loom, you'll see that the wiring from this plug goes to this plug, which goes into the module. So we see that this is our steering wheel control wires, basically. They're just resistive. So all this module does is pick up the resistance, send it to the unit, and the unit knows what's what. On the Kenwood units, this is pre-programmed, so we can literally just wire this up and plug it in, it will work. But you can also set the controls on the unit, but we'll look at that after. So we've figured out what works on the car, what plugs into the car, what our module does, and how to plug that in. Now we're left with this. It doesn't really make sense, does it? So what we need to do is chop this plug off. This is just a universal ISO plug. Chop, and we'll chop this up so they're all sort of the same length. So chop, chop, and very simple, color to color. So green to green, green black to green black, etc., etc. We'll start on that, and as we get into some of the other wiring, I'll show you what that means as well. So once we've chopped off that black ISO plug, we've got a bunch of wiring here. Now there is 2 of every power wire, so 2 constant, 2 switched or ignition, and 2 ground. And if you just follow some of that wiring back, you'll see they come to the car side and they also come here. So that just tells us that this module needs power as well, so the powers go together. Now on the Kenwood side, we've got every color that is here as well as some other ones. So let's have a look at that. For instance, we have 2 blues, whereas on this we have 1. So for this, on the car, it's the power or amplified antenna. So we can see an antenna wire there. Power continuation is for an aftermarket amplifier. So we're not putting an amp in this car, so we won't need that. We can leave that as it is. Antenna we'll use, so we'll open that up and strip the wire. Accessories we know we're going to need. We see steering wheel remote input. So a lot of units use a jack, a 3.5mm jack for the steering wheel input. Kenwood's just use the remote wire. So this wire connects to remote wire. And there, it's pretty simple. Then we've got 2 camera wires. So this Kenwood unit can power up a camera as well as the reverse signal just by pushing a camera button. So how a reverse camera normally works is you put the car into reverse and that camera image comes up. On these Kenwood units, you can press camera on the screen as well, and it will send power to the camera. So if you're doing an aftermarket camera, you hook up the powers to that. Now there's a random light green wire here that says park switch, right? Instead of running this to the park brake switch or the handbrake, we're going to chop it here and ground it with our ground. So black to light green, and we'll put them together with this black here. What that will do is the unit will always think that the handbrake is up, and you can use all of the features of the unit all the time. If you want to do it properly, it's pretty simple. Run it to the handbrake and attach it to the handbrake switch wire. There's illumination, like I said, we won't use, and there's also a reverse signal. So if we attach that to the reverse light of the car, 12 volts, it will tell the unit to switch the screen to show the camera image. Alright, so I hope all this makes sense. What we'll do is I'll start attaching these wires and we'll explain again what we're doing. Alright, so to make it nice and simple, I've grabbed the wires we're not going to use and just pulled them away, and I grabbed all the wires that will correspond with these colors and put them here. And then these wires are optional, so reverse signal, if you're putting a camera, you'll need. If you want the illumination to work, connect it. Cameras, again, for the cameras, and if you're doing an amplifier system or a subwoofer, you need that. So we're not doing that stuff. We're just going to connect these up together, color to color, pretty simple. And remember that light green goes to ground. And then once we've done that, very important, solder. You need that. You need solder. All right, so now we've soldered and taped everything, and we have something that resembles somewhat of a harness. So we can sort of make sense of what's happening now. We've got our power wires all going together, our speakers. So you'll see there is some colors that are the same. You know, there's green, purple, white, and gray. And there's also the same color with a black stripe. So what we need to do is make sure black stripe goes to black stripe, and so on and so forth. These are your speaker wires. If you do reverse them, it's not bad, as in the speaker will pop, but it will sound shit because the speakers will be out of phase. So you need to make sure they go the right way. And so we've got powers and speakers. Steering wheel control signal goes through our module to this wire to the unit. There's a black wire on this plug as well. Disregard, we're not going to use. Disregard and disregard. That's the illumination. So we can tape all this up like that. We can tape the module to the loom, make it look something like that, and we'll see how it looks when we're done. All right, all done. We've taped it up. Module's taped to the loom, so we just basically folded that over itself, taped it up, taped up our soldering connections, taped off the wires we're not going to use. That reverse signal I am using in this car, as it does have a factory camera, so we're going to use a module and hardwire that. I will do a video on that in the future. Yeah. But for the steering wheel control module side of things, this is basically it. That's only if you have this. If you've got the other side, that step 2 harness, it would have just plugged into that on the other end, like that. Kenwood on the other side. But that's it, guys. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.